This is Speak of the Devils on AZ Family Sports.
Welcome to Speak of the Devils, the premier TV show for Sun Devil football. I'm Brad Denny with 3TV.
And I'm Joe Healey with DevilsDigest.com.
Joe, no more prognostications, no more predictions, and we are going to actually talk about a football game. The Sun Devils finally kick off the 2025 season, a season with so much hype, so much expectation surrounding this program this Saturday when they host NAU.
A countdown clock that began midday on January 1st, which began with months down to weeks, down to days, is truly now down to hours. We're about to kick off this 2025 season of Sun Devil football. The expectations are sky high. A lot of folks are wondering, can ASU do it again? Were they a one-hit wonder? Can they win without Cam Scattaboo? We're about to get some of those answers this Saturday against the Lumberjacks.
Yeah, ASU, of course, comes into the season ranked number 11 in the preseason AP poll. A lot of expectations. And, I think that ranking is fair for a number of reasons. They returned a lot from last year's Big 12 championship team. And, it's not, some might say that, they're hosting an FCS level team to start things off. But, Joe, as we'll get into, this is a pretty quality team. In fact, this is a ranked versus ranked matchup on Saturday.
It's a top 20 FCS level team. For those of you, check out our full podcast version, the talk we had with Lumberjack play-by-play radio guy Mitch Stroman. He gets a lot of detail on the quality of this program. They went back to the FCS playoffs last year under first-year head coach Brian Wright. They've got a lot of talent on this squad. The expectations are very high for them. This is a Lumberjack team that, if you don't forget, a couple years ago, to the delight of Sun Devil fans, they went down to Tucson and beat the University of Arizona. They have beaten an FBS power conference level team, and it wasn't that long ago. They're coming down to Tempe with the objective of winning this game. So ASU had better be ready. Again, it is an FCS team. Again, ASU is more than a 4-touchdown favorite in this ball game. But there's a lot at stake for both teams, and this NAU team, anytime they come to Tempe, highly motivated, a lot of Phoenix, Arizona area kids on that roster, ones who want to prove that they can play at the highest level of college football. They're going to have that opportunity this Saturday.
All right, so we'll of course break down the keys to victory and give our game predictions in our final segment of the show. But Joe, let's talk about some of the things we want to see. We've talked about this Sun Devil team for months now, since the Peach Bowl, really, and we did our season preview episode a week ago. ASU does come in as a 28.5-point favorite. They're the number 11 team. They should win this game handily. But so, what are some of the things that we want to see out of Saturday's game? Because obviously the schedule gets pretty tough.
Yeah. For me, the main thing is about the running backs, because I don't want to see, it's what you want to see and what you don't want to see, right? I don't want to see Sam Leavitt taking on too heavy of a workload. He doesn't need to throw the ball that much. He's not a new quarterback. Just want to kind of get in the rhythm. But I really want to see this running back group for ASU. You got a new top dog, figuring Kyson Brown as your starting running back. Some guys behind him that you really want to see as well. Kanye Udo, Raleek Brown, then some youngsters as well that might take the field. In a game like this, you likely should see several running backs out there. Really curious to see how they perform.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to be looking at that center position. Ben Coleman, who has been was kind of moved to center from that left guard spot, a returning starter. And then in recent weeks, we talked about here on the show, they've been given some looks to Wade Helton, the Iowa State transfer, but Kenny Dillingham earlier this week did say that Ben Coleman, the veteran, will be the starting center. There have been some snapping issues at camp. So obviously he's a very quality offensive lineman, a very smart, heady football player, but moving to a new position, that's a little bit different. And all it could take is just one bad snap here or there in a critical moment that could flip a close ball game. So I'm really going to be curious to see exactly how things play out at that center position. That's the linchpin of that offensive line.
And though Sam Leavitt is the returning QB1, though he is a high-level Heisman candidate for this season, you still want to see some things out of him. You want to see him be crisp, be efficient, all the things he was last year. You want to see him build upon that. No semblance of a sophomore slump over here. You want to see him, play within himself, take some chances, but not be too risky. He did a great job at not turning the ball over last year. You want to see that quality continue.
And for me, I think that it extends to show some big play explosiveness for the Sun Devil offense. Obviously, ASU was pretty good last year with a guy named Cam Scattaboo toting the ball around the field. But I want to see, and Kenny Dillingham has said that he wants to see some big time plays, 40, 50, 60-yard touchdowns. The ASU has some weapons in the form of, the Jordan Tyson, some of the running backs. Jaron Hamilton, the Alabama transfer, is a really explosive guy that I'd like to see get going a little bit. So, against a NAU defense that was pretty good a year ago, I'm going to be missing some guys in that lineup. I think it's an opportunity for the Devils to get things going. Joe, what's one thing on the defensive side that you'd like to see?
Oh, there's one thing, and there's one thing. Get the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it a lot. ASU's pass rush last year left a lot to be desired. There is hope and enthusiasm that it could be better, significantly better this year. This is going to be a very good chance for ASU. A lot of respect to Ty Pennington at quarterback for NAU. He's the returning conference newcomer of the year in the Big Sky. They've got a lot of starts returning at offensive line. But ASU, again, if they're the number 11 team in the country, they should be able to take over and dominate at the line of scrimmage on defense. I want to see at least 5 quarterback sacks coming up this Saturday.
Guys like Clayton Smith and Justin Watley have been wreaking havoc all throughout ASU's preseason camp. So we'll see exactly how they can pin their ears back and get after Pennington a little bit. And I think one thing on the special teams, you just want to see the kicking game look good and not be an issue. Jesus Gomez is the new place kicker. He's looked good from spring and fall. It'll be interesting to see, how many opportunities he gets to kick, but I'd like to see them just execute that special teams phase of the game flawlessly.
As long as fans and media and everybody involved aren't saying, here we go again, as it applies to the special teams, I think that'll be a bit of a win. You probably won't see them out in action too much. If you're punting a lot or kicking a lot of field goals, that's not really a good thing. But special teams will still be relevant in the game. They still got to get the job done. So that's going to be something we're going to keep an eye on.
Yeah, a lot to watch on Saturday night. After the break, we're going to be talking to a couple of Sun Devils that are going to play key roles on Saturday night. All right, so a week out from the opener, how do you think things are going so far for the running backs?
I feel like everything going good with the running backs. Everybody feel good, and I feel like it's going to be a big year for us.
How is that kind of, the rotation with you, Kyson, Kanye, kind of working out so far?
It's going well. Just keep rotating, getting a lot of reps, getting same amount of reps, quality reps, so it's good right now.
How does that work from a running back's perspective of, going in and out, kind of, depending, and obviously you guys are very versatile in what you can do, but, not necessarily maybe having like that kind of bell cow guy like Scott was a year ago.
Just staying ready, staying focused, and just be ready when your time is called, so just got to be prepared.
How do you feel like you made the strides throughout the course of fall camp?
I feel like I did good fall camp, improving a lot of things, running between tackles, so I feel like I improved a lot since last year, so I feel good.
Kenny mentioned that, one of the areas that you improved, kind of the power in the tackles, adding, the weight. What was that process like? Just, making sure you can obviously be explosive, but still, run over guys.
Coach Joe got us right. So good weight, good summer workouts, getting bigger, getting faster, stronger. Then on my part, just trying to eat a little more. That's about it.
And of course, sharing a backfield with a guy like Sam, guy getting some Heisman buzz. How have you seen Sam heading into this season as opposed to heading into last year?
Way better, way more confident, way more precise. Like he know the offense way more. He's just communicating way more vocal, and then that's about it.
And of course, just a week from today, you're playing NAU. You guys are coming in ranked number 11 in the country. They're coming in, an FCS team. How do you make sure you guys don't overlook them?
Just don't play down to the competition, play our game, and play our football. And we know what that is.
How much have you missed being in a sold-out, loud stadium?
I miss that. I miss it a lot. I can't wait. That's all I think about is playing my first game every day. That's all I think about.
What are Sun Devil fans going to see from you this fall?
A lot of touchdowns. I'm going to keep saying that.
Are you still treating this kind of like this is the end of fall camp, or are you treating this like this is game week?
This is game week. This game week. Yeah. We did a little bit of game prep stuff today. This like game week, man. It's finally here.
Yeah. How fun is it for you to kind of like get back into that groove and know all right, Saturdays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, that's the business, that's the goal.
No, definitely. I feel like it's real fun trying to get back in that groove. Just I feel like the energy in the building was just real up today. Like everything just felt good, and finally game planning for another opponent and not our offense.
Yeah, and obviously just with the excitement of obviously the fan base, and obviously with the fact that exactly 1 week from today, 50,000 people are going to be in that building, the energy around the program over the offseason. I mean, how exciting is that for you, considering what the week 1 environment was last year and the excitement of what it could be this year? Yeah.
Man, it shows that, what Coach Dilly been preaching since day one, activating the Valley. I feel like me being here my first year, just the first game, okay, then last year the first game, and this year I can only imagine what it's going to be like. So just the whole progress and the growth of the fan base and, the Valley activated.
What would you say the biggest part, I guess, of the secondary over the course of camp? Where do you feel like the biggest room of growth has been made since the start of camp? You feel like with all, especially with the amount of guys who may be experiencing it for the first time and all of you veterans, what do you guys feel like you had the goals and you feel like you met them maybe as we know?
I feel like our communication is just way better than last year. I feel like that's one thing we've been harping on. Coach Ward's been harping on. So we just been communicating very well. I feel like that's the step one. For the play lineup, we got to communicate, all be on the same page. So that's one thing we've been focused on. So I feel like that's taking a big step from last year.
And what? Oh no, go ahead.
How's that? Kind of related note. The chemistry with Javen, heading in is top guys in that room.
It just make it easy, man. When you got a guy like Javen out there, just somebody that you just real close with off the field and on the field, it just makes it way easier knowing that we're gonna go out there and we just always pushing each other. I feel like we got that relationship with each other, and we want to see each other win. He make a play, I'm gonna be right there. I make a play, he gonna be right there to celebrate. So it's just a great relationship with him, and I feel like even all the other corners, even the safeties too, like we all got a bond like that.
What have been the unique traits, at least from Coach BC's standpoint, of like what he's been looking at of you guys, at least on the leadership roles?
Yeah.
What at least has he been complimenting you guys, and what pieces do you feel like you guys still need to work on as you guys are preparing for like an actual opponent?
Yes, sir. Coach BC has just been challenging us, just being leaders, vocal leaders. So I feel like me and Javen, we're kind of like more of quiet guys, more lead by example type of guys. So the challenge this year was kind of going in, and we got to me and him being the returning starters, we got to be vocal. So that's one thing we've gotten way better at. And then also they just been preaching on staying on the little details. That's for like them helping us stay on the little details. I feel like it's just making us way better.
And obviously you stand across the line from them, but seeing the improvements that obviously with Jordan, but with the rest of the receiver room and what the improvements that they have made going against them one-on-one, not only at Camp T but also in the week since. What have you kind of seen out of them, and at least in the one-on-ones, and how do you feel like you're prepared to at least go one-on-one against somebody now?
I feel like just going against those guys every day just makes me better, man. The work that I see them put in and day out, JT, Malik, Turbo, Jalen Moss, all them guys, I feel like they come in and they work every day. So going against them guys has definitely got me way better, and I feel like I'm going to be prepared for the season.
Being a roommate with Kyson, what is that like? Obviously you guys are very close and have a history there, but sharing the room with one of the offensive leaders.
Yeah, I feel like it's good just having a good balance, like that. And then coming home, telling him we won practice, him telling me they won practice, things like that. Me and Kyson, SIP relationship, we just just brothers for real. That's like a brother from another mother, man. We just locked in, and I feel like we got that relationship where we just push each other, kind of like me and Javen, similar. We just always pushing each other to be great. I see him lacking or slacking or slouching, I'm gonna tell him, come on, bro. He say vice versa, man. And
question in the back.
What's up?
So I heard you're like big bro to everybody on the team. How's your response on that?
Nah, man, this is big bro right here, man. That's big bro right there.
Thank you, sir.
With Kyson, obviously, with the number change now, is there any like a friendly competition of who's the real K1?
I'm the real K1. He is S1 PP, still with a 1 in it. We always had that conversation. That's cool though, but it's friendly. Like he'll call me Uno, or I call him 1, or I call him Uno, he call me 1. It's different, like different variations of it. But I'm K1 though.
So of course, you mentioned kind of turning that page to game prep now. What are some early kind of impressions about NAU, what they do offensively? Obviously, had some success last year coming in ranked amongst FCS teams.
I feel like they're just watching a little bit of them so far. I feel like they're a very good team. I feel like they're a team that has a great scheme. They can scheme things up, and I feel like we're not on top of our communication and stuff like that. They can hit us on some plays. So I feel like the challenge for us is really just trying to communicate and everybody being on the same page.
Welcome back to Speak of the Devils. It is now time for the first Sun Devil stock report of the season. I'm going to throw 6 Sun Devil stocks Joe's way. He'll either buy or sell, starting with Saturday will be an official, I'm putting that in quotes because it's going to be some shenanigans, sellout at Mountain America Stadium.
I get the shenanigans. As a lifelong pro wrestling fan, and the numbers that they've inflated in some of those wrestling events over the years, saying they got 100,000 people in the stands, never true. So I get this thought process. I think it'll be a very, very good crowd. I think it'll be shy of a sellout. The heat is still a thing. And no disrespect whatsoever to NAU, but there are obviously a lot of fans that might show up for the higher T marquee opponents. Should be a great student crowd. We're hearing a lot of really good things about that.
14,000.
Yeah, and it should be a great crowd in general, especially for an opener. But I think it'll fall a little shy of a sellout. But you know what? I'm not really dying on that hill, so to speak. It wouldn't shock me if it gets to that level with the excitement that's going on.
All right. Buy or sell. Arizona State will have 250 or more rushing yards as a team, and 2 ASU running backs will top 85 yards each.
I'm going to go ahead and buy this because I'm looking for ASU to run the ball quite a bit to really get some reps for those that trio of running backs and probably more that they're going to be using over the course of the season. You don't want to see them open up the playbook too much. You don't want to see Sam Levitt put himself in harm's way. So it just makes sense they're going to run a lot. They should have success doing so. And I think they have skilled rushers to be able to get to that 85-yard mark. So, yeah, I'm really counting on that.
All right. Buy or sell. The Sun Devils will score a defensive or special teams touchdown.
You know what? I'll go ahead and buy that as well. I mean, ASU was pretty opportunistic with some defensive touchdowns, especially early in the year. I mean, what was it, the first play from scrimmage or in the very early going, that pick six that set the tone for ASU against Wyoming last year, set the tone for the entire season. So, yeah, it's been an opportunistic defense. Now, if there is a special teams return, Sun Devil fans will be thrilled if, Raleek Brown or somebody runs a punter or kickoff back for a touchdown or a blocked, punter kick back for a score would be great. But, yeah, I think they can muster up one of those.
All right. Buy or sell. ASU's defense will have 5 or more sacks.
I'm going to go ahead and buy that one. And that's, almost like similar to the previous answer of special teams, like trying to will it into existence because it's something that I really want to be the case. I think that's kind of like the minimum number that ASU needs to get to in this ball game to avoid continued concerns, or at least just like tabling the topic of, okay, is this pass rush still going to be an issue? If you can get 5 or more sacks, you're not going to have people thinking that you got, Terrell Suggs and Dexter Davis out there, but at least it's going to let you know that, okay, they took care of business against an opponent where they really should be able to do that sort of thing. And you also figure the situations should lend themselves to NAU throwing the ball quite a bit. So the opportunities should be there. So, yeah, I will buy this. And it's also like that needs to happen. That's, blended in there with the response.
All right. So buy or sell. The Sun Devil offense will have 3 or more plays of 50 or more yards from scrimmage.
That much I will sell. I think, to get there, I'm curious if ASU is going to be really running anything that's terribly deep and, showing that hand, especially in the pass game. Now, then, of course, the potential's there for them to, break what could be a short gain into a very, very long one. So, expect some dynamic plays. Also in a game like this, though, you're not going to discount the opponent. These sort of games do lend themselves to backups and, 4th, 5th stringers, guys that will really only see their game time of the year in this one game. So that may not be as much of an opportunity unless you're a guy like Derek Eusebio, and doing what he did in the opportunity he had against Arizona. So these things can happen. I think they'll get some big plays, but in a game like this, when you just might keep things vanilla, just may not lend itself to a lot of, huge explosive plays, but, they should be able to assert their will on offense.
All right. Last one, buy or sell. Sun Devil fans will wildly overreact to week 1.
Oh, goodness. I'll buy that with every penny I'll ever have to my name. And that can be in either direction because a wild reaction is not necessarily inherently a negative one. It can be a positive one as well. You could see, fans that at the end of the game, if ASU lights them up, kind of like they did in 2012 when it was like a 60 to single digit number under Todd Graham in his debut, they might think ASU is going to the national championship because a lot of folks may think that already. If it's a close game, that's where the wild takes could come out. So no matter what, I think you're guaranteed to see some wildness in the takes that come about. But you know what, man, that is what shows us that Sun Devil football is truly back, is when the fans start launching those wild takes.
All right. So good stuff there. So after the break, we are going to come back and preview the game, give our keys and score predictions.
Welcome back to Speak of the Devils. All right, we're going to get it set up for Saturday's opening game between ASU and NAU. Going to give you some of the players and things to keep in mind, keep an eye on for Northern Arizona. They got a great head coach, Brian Wright. He is a winner, and he brought with him 2 Flagstaff, quarterback Ty Pennington. They both came over from D2 Pittsburgh State. Pennington had a great year last year, about 2,300 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. He was in the top 25 at the FCS level in completion percentage, the Big Sky Newcomer of the Year, and the 2025 preseason all-conference quarterback for the Big Sky. Also rushed for 437 yards and 7 touchdowns. Similar skill set to a guy named Sam Levitt that we're going to be seeing on Saturday as well.
Yeah, it's a kind of a low-key quality quarterback matchup. Yeah, a guy doesn't make mistakes, and that if you're going to pull off a big upset, you can't do that. And if you can extend plays with his legs with that ASU pass rush, that could present a challenge.
Now, at running back, NAU is going to show a few different ball carriers That is going to be led by Seth Cromwell. He led the team last year with 681 yards on 125 carries with 9 touchdowns. You're also probably going to see Darvon Hubbard, who began his career at Texas A&M before transferring a couple times. In the pass game, Colby Katzis, he is the top leading returning receiver for NAU. They lost quite a few players from the pass game. I believe 3 of their top 4 pass catchers, including a dynamic tight end. They have an experienced offensive line as well. They do lose 2 starters from the line. So again, Pennington, solid season last year, looking to build upon that.
Watch out for a transfer from Stanford wide receiver Jason Raines, 6'4". You know, that's a big body power 4 type of player there. It should be an interesting matchup with ASU's corners.
Now, moving on to the defense, they have some studs on the defensive line. There's a lot of confidence in that defensive front. Micah Carrion, he was an honorable mention all-conference recipient last year, and he's a preseason All-Big Sky honoree this year. Fo Ho Ching, he had 37 tackles, including 4 for a loss from his defensive line position. Also plays a little offense and might even catch the ball or block. NAU will be without their 2 top linebackers that returned from last year. Amon Allen, he's going to miss the season due to injury, and Brandon Wong, a preseason All-Big Sky honoree, will miss this game due to injury. Mikael Greer, he was the team leader in interceptions last season with 4. He starts at cornerback. So there are some departures and some injuries on defense, but also some talented players.
Yeah, some talented players, some experience, and also the defensive coordinator, Adam Clark. He likes to make things weird, be very multiple, bring a lot of pressure. And so you can't necessarily pin them down to necessarily, one scheme or ideology. So ASU's got to be on their toes.
So let's jump into our keys for this ballgame. We kind of touched on them in the opening of the show. One for me, dominate on the ground, do it with the whole group. I want to see all those running backs for ASU get involved. Even some of those true freshmen, they may redshirt and not play much this year, but this Saturday is an opportunity for that. I want to see a dominant rushing effort from Arizona State.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also want to see on the flip side, a dominant effort by ASU's defensive line. If you're a defensive coordinator, Brian Ward, you shouldn't have to necessarily scheme up a whole lot of exotic stuff or blitzes. You should be able to generate some pressure on Ty Pennington with just your standard D-line rush. They have the ability to do so. So that's been something we talked about for months, Joe. We got to see it get going in week 1.
And that lines up with my second key, rough Pennington up. Get some sacks on him, force him into turnovers. He doesn't commit a lot, but ASU needs to force that. My third and final key, clean special teams. We talked about it earlier. Just no regrets, no complaints after this ball game. What are your final 2 keys, Brent?
All right. So first and foremost, I want to see that offense make some big time plays. I think this is a game where we've talked about Jaron Hamilton, the Alabama wide receiver transfer. This is setting up really well because NAU lost a lot of experience in that secondary. For him to maybe make his mark with like a 50, 60-yard touchdown, hit that connection with Levitt has been growing strong. And then my final key, I mean, you're the number 11 team in the country if you're the Sun Devils. You have an opportunity to make a big run in the playoffs. You have a lot of returning talent. This is a game that you need to end by halftime. You don't want to have questions about how this game's end, or your fans to be worried a little bit in that second half. So if you're the Devils, get out there and make a statement and make sure that the game is out of question by the break.
And I think that's going to happen. ASU wins 48-17.
I think that ASU is going to do something similar. They've heard the noise. They've heard the chirping. They've heard the national level doubters. I think they come out there and they get it done 52-13. So we both see ASU getting off to a good start this season. We'll be back next week. We'll see how we did if ASU did indeed take care of business and also preview their trip to Starkville, Mississippi.